Joining us tonight is Washington Congressman Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. With his take on the latest developments, Congressman, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thanks, Joyce. I appreciate the chance.
Okay, first off, how would you assess where the U.S. stands in this conflict right now?
We're in a very bad place. I mean, look, Trump made a bet that a sudden strike, a sort of shock and awe campaign, and then a 4 to 6 week bombing campaign could basically break the Iranian regime. That either they would be deposed and a new regime would come in place, or the regime would be so broken that they would agree to our demands. And that just didn't happen. Then he tried a blockade, trying to achieve the same thing, and that too hasn't happened. So now we've got, the global economic impacts, the devastations to the Middle East, all the lives lost. And Iran is not only not willing to agree on the nuclear program, ballistic missile terrorism, and all of that, but now they've taken the Strait of Hormuz hostage, and they don't seem inclined to give it up. So we're in a bad place. And the notion that more military action could change that is one most of the experts I talk to do not agree with.
I want to talk about the confirmed reporting showing Iranian strikes damaged or destroyed at least 228 structures and pieces of equipment at 15 U.S. bases across the Middle East. It's far, far more than the U.S. government has acknowledged so far. So I guess first, are those reports accurate? And what's your assessment of the damage on those American bases?
Yeah, as near as I can tell, those reports are accurate. And the Trump administration, the Department of Defense have not been transparent about the impact of this. We've struggled throughout this conflict just to get an accurate assessment of U.S. casualties, service members who were wounded. They have definitely hidden information from the public and from Congress about this. And those reports sound accurate. Iran launched a lot of missiles at all of our bases in the region. And I think that damage is probably accurate. Now, we don't have the exact assessment to know how much this cost, but it clearly cost a lot more than the Trump administration is admitting at this point.
And then what does that kind of damage, the extent of it that is being reported, tell you about our intelligence in that region and our ability to protect American forces?
Well, I don't think it tells us a lot about that. I mean, this is not surprising. Okay. Iran had the missile capability they had, and we put up force protection in that area. But you can't protect against all drones and all missiles. Some are going to get through. Launching this war was the mistake. We knew if you launch this war, this is what Iran's going to do. They will attack all of those bases. We knew that they would probably take the Strait of Hormuz. And we also knew that the likelihood of the military campaign breaking Iran, as I described earlier, was low. But look, Trump goes with his gut. He's impetuous. He doesn't, really analyze details in any sort of intelligent way. And he made a gut decision that dropped us into a war that he now has no idea how to get out of. So yeah, the costs of war are almost always higher than people assess at the time. And in this case, I think it's going to be even higher still because of the lack of transparency of this Pentagon.
We haven't heard from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, in a few days. Why not?
Yeah, we can count your blessings on that one, I guess. But I don't know. But certainly they don't really have a plan. Now, Secretary Hegseth was up on the Hill the last couple of days on the Senate side talking to appropriators about the budget request that he has. But look, I mean, there's no easy way out of this. At this point, what we should do is we should work with the rest of the world. There's some 50 nations that have joined together to say, hey, can we work together to try to get the Strait of Hormuz back open? Trump has rejected all of them in a go-it-alone strategy that the clip you showed sort of highlighted, leaving us hanging out there and the Strait of Hormuz shut down and Iranian control. We have to try to negotiate. I think part of the reason Secretary Hegseth isn't saying anything is his normal approach is sort of bragging and being arrogant. And there's nothing to brag about, nothing to be arrogant about the situation that we find ourselves in the war with Iran.
So we're 74 days in. What in your mind would be a realistic off-ramp? What would that look like, and how far out do you see it happening?
There's a great article in The Atlantic yesterday written by Robert Kagan that basically painted a bleak picture that I agree with. Look, there is no good off-ramp here. And I hear people saying, no, well, now that we started it, we have to finish the job, as if that's just a switch we can flip. This isn't like digging a ditch or building an apartment building. The enemy gets a vote. We're not militarily in a position to finish the job and force Iran to surrender. Again, the best possible outcome we can get at this point is to reduce the economic damage, open up the strait, and then try to get back to the negotiating table, which is where we were at before Trump started this war. Look, Iran was weak. They were very weak. They were on their heels before we started this war. We were in a position to negotiate a deal on their nuclear weapons program. Trump walked away from that because of a fantasy that somehow he could defeat and topple the Iranian regime. And we're going to pay very, very dearly for that for a long time to come.
And then I'm curious what your assessment is of what feels like war fatigue across the country. There's so much going on with the economy. There's a lot going on with redistricting in much of the country. And not as many people seem to be focused in on what's going on with this war in Iran. Do you feel a sense of fatigue? Is that just my imagination?
Well, it's not fatigue, it's distraction. I don't think people have been focusing on the war so much that they're worn out about it. I think they haven't focused on it much to begin with, because again, Trump didn't make a case to the American people or Congress. He just did it. What people are feeling is the economic impact of it. Certainly we're seeing the gas prices, and then gas prices affect everything else. And soon you're going to have the effect on food because of the fertilizer problem that we have. Cropped up, during planting season. That's created a major problem. So they're feeling the economic impacts, but also if there is fatigue, it's fatigue of the chaos of the Trump administration. I mean, incoherent ambiguity isn't really helping anything. You know, tariffs, war, we're winning, we're not winning. They agreed to a deal. No, they didn't agree to a deal. That chaos, I think, has led to those numbers you referenced earlier of the lowest confidence in our economy that we've seen in years.
My last question, do you think things are going to get worse economically for Americans before they get better?
No, absolutely. I mean, look, even if Trump does the smart thing and stops this right now and miraculously is able to open the Strait of Hormuz back up in days or maybe a week, the effects of the damage done to the oil infrastructure and the infrastructure throughout the Middle East is going to ripple for a while. They're just not going to be able to simply turn it back on in terms of fertilizer and helium and gas and all the economic impacts. It's going to take weeks, months, or maybe longer to recover from this. So yes, gas prices will stay high, probably get higher, and other prices will go up accordingly. It's going to take a while to come out of this.
Congressman Adam Smith, we so appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce. I appreciate the chance.